The Museum of Bath at Work, where we are now, is the city's museum of its commercial development over the last 2,000 years. It's to do with the working people of the city, the social development since the building of the Roman baths, and it's concerned with all those aspects of work which most of us have to do most of the time, unfortunately. And I suppose the museum has traditionally been seen as rather unusual in a place like Bath, because Bath is rather like a seaside resort. It's famous for people being on holiday, you might say, famous as a resort of medical treatments and not working. But even in a place like Weston-super-Mare, somebody has to make the fish and chips, and it's exactly the same here. Bath has, amongst all those other industries, employed huge numbers of people in things like tourism. But alongside that have been all those manufacturing concerns, whether they're engineering or building or textiles, or in this particular case, in this display of the museum, the main display, a reconstructed engineering and soft drinks making factory, a typical sort of business that you might expect to find anywhere. And one of the reasons why this exhibition, the display and the contents of Jonathan Bowler's engineering and mineral water factory, was preserved in the 1970s and forms this major display, is to show, I suppose, how Bath is unexceptional. This is the sort of firm you might expect to find anywhere. It's nothing particularly unusual about it. You'd find a firm like this in any town and city in the country. And by preserving it, one of the things that I suppose the museum is saying is that Bath is really just like anywhere else. It appears to be exceptional with all this wonderful architecture, wonderful legacy of the Romans and the Georgians, but at heart, if you live here, and those of you who live here will know, the city really is just like anywhere else, and we need butchers and bakers and candlestick makers as much as we need those shops that sell souvenirs and those sorts of things. So that's what the museum is about, how the city came to be how it is, and how its working people like me have lived and worked in this particular place. This is the museum's single largest object, single largest exhibit, one of the rarest and most valuable. It's a car manufactured by the Horseman Company of 1914, so just before the outbreak of the First World War. This car was made by a German family who got it, as you might imagine, got in all sorts of trouble during the First World War as manufacturers and engineers, not least because they were supplying the government and the munitions department with manufactures, and people suspected by being German that they may be the king's enemies, as they were described, but they were not. They couldn't have been more loyal. And this is an example of the type of things that we have in the museum. That most towns and cities would have had a car maker of one sort or another, and the museum has a whole range of manufactured products like this, bath chairs, and all sorts of engineering. The museum's traditionally been associated with manufacturing trades and tools and equipment and that sort of thing. And museums like this, which are sometimes called industrial museums, tend to be associated with technology. But the museum is really concerned with how the city has developed in the round. And one of the ways that we've had exhibitions on that subject is by consulting local people in 12 districts of the city and asking them what they think are the significant features which they would like the museum to present to people who visit. And one of the ways that we have done that is by asking people to submit an alphabetical list of things in their area, and in this particular case, Oldfield Park, and asking them to make an alphabetical list and of things from A to Z, so 26 features, natural features, buildings, personalities, and that sort of thing. And then we would put on a display like we have on these panels, where an image is associated with a short amount of text. And so through these community alphabets, through these pictorial A to Zs, we're allowed, or we give local people the opportunity to present what they think are important, not just what the museum thinks are important features. And in doing this with the 12 districts of the city, we have 312 local pictures, local features which we present.